wind, crimson flame. Grant the power of thunder to my hand. Digu volt. I shouted, sending a bolt of lightning from my hand, zapping the creature dead. The air around me smelled faintly of ozone as the energy discharged. Just then, I felt something grabbing my chest. "Hey, I told you to grab hold of me, not my chest, you scary cat," I said as we landed back on the ground. I approached the creature, which looked lifeless. "Don't get too close," Alice yelled. "It's fine. It couldn't survive that much electricity," I said, grabbing its tail and levitating it toward the forest behind the spring. As I was moving it, I felt a slight twitch. I dropped it to the clearing and braced myself. How could it still be alive? It resembled a smaller saber-toothed tiger. I readied myself and began preparing my flare arrow spell. An arrow of fire appeared in my hand, and as the tiger charged, I let the arrow fly. It hit the creature, burning a hole through its head and body, completely destroying it. I tossed its tail back into the forest. "Finally, we can finish my hair," I said, wiping my hands. "You were amazing. How did you know it would attack?" Peter asked. "I just had a feeling and sensed danger. I guess I acted on impulse," I explained. "Well, thank you. You saved our lives again," Jen said, grateful. "You know, you can thank me by finishing my hair and washing my back too," I joked. After a while of soaking, we decided to head back to our rooms. "Hey, in about half an hour, let's meet in our room. We have a lot to discuss and need some privacy," I told the others as we exited the spring area. "It hurts," I groaned, half-dressed in our room. "Hold still, I need to comb your hair so it's neat again, or it'll get tangled," Alice said. "I know, but does it have to hurt this much?" I winced through gritted teeth, tears forming in my eyes. "It's your hair's fault. There's so much of it that it's hard to comb through," Alice replied. I grabbed the side of the table and closed my eyes, trying to bear the pain. "There, I'm done." "Check it in the mirror," Alice said proudly. I stood up, relieved to have it behind me. I had to admit, Alice did a great job. My hair looked better than before, more volume and styled like Lena's in the Slayers anime. "Thanks, Alice, for your effort, but I still think it's pointless for me to have my hair styled so nicely," I said, crossing my arms, which caused my breasts to jiggle in the bra, since I wasn't wearing a shirt. "You should get dressed. They'll be here soon. And you should learn to comb your hair yourself because you'll need to do it every morning or it'll get tangled," Alice smiled. "Right, I almost forgot I told them to meet in 30 minutes. I dressed quickly, putting my shoulder guards and cape in the closet. Before I left, I placed the sack with our money, the last fruit from the marketplace, and my new purse on the table. Just then, Jen and Pete knocked on the door. "Come in and close the door," Alice called. "So, what did you want, Liam?" Pete asked. "Sit down at the table." "You too, Alice," I said, pulling out my dagger and cutting the last fruit into 4 pieces. "Here, if you find any seeds, put them on the table. We'll make a fortune with this fruit if we get home," I said, handing them each a piece. "If we can plant it right," Jen added. "Okay, the main reason we're here, take out your money pouches. We need to split everything evenly." I counted 38 gold pieces, so we'll each get 9, I said, arranging the coins into stacks. "What about the rest?" Pete asked. "Glad you asked. I'm packing them with the seeds. If we make it home, this is going to be a fortune. Only one of these pieces has extreme value at home. I'm keeping the gems though, I might know what to do with them." "What are you planning with them?" Jen asked, intrigued. "It's a surprise. I don't know if I'll be able to do it, but you'll see," I replied, giving a mischievous smile. "About that back in the forest, could you help us unlock that knowledge like you said you might be able to?" Alice asked. "I'm not sure, but we can try. You'll need to meditate, and I'll try to guide you. I used the weed myself, but we can see how it works, I said, looking puzzled. I'm not smoking that weed. We need to meditate, Pete insisted. Okay, I'll meditate with you to guide you, but I'm not really keen on it. I don't know what to expect. I've already got all the knowledge I need, but the librarian, my subconscious, implied there's more to it when I woke up, I said, my gaze unfocused. One thing's for sure, you can't keep putting yourself at risk for us. We need to help too. You can't save us all the time, Jen said, with passion in her voice. All right. But if this doesn't work, I think I can still teach you some magic. Not much, but some basic spells, I said, putting the rest of the gold and seeds I found into the cape hidden in the closet. So, how do we start? Pete asked, clearly impatient. Sit in a circle on the sheet and cross your legs, I instructed, laying the sheet from my bed on the floor. It was clean, but I needed it to feel softer. Take off your boots first, I added, sitting down, feeling a bit anxious. I had a bad feeling about this, but I went along with it. There was no stopping them until I tried it. I've never done this before. Weed was way easier, Jen complained as she tried to get comfortable. Get comfortable and close your eyes. I'll try, but sitting like this is hard. I could do it before, no problem, Jen continued, wincing slightly. Yeah, and I couldn't do it even if you broke my legs. Remember that time you tried to get me into yoga? Pete added with a laugh. Yeah, I guess it's easier for you now. Your body's more agile than mine, Jen said, smiling. That's why you should never force guys to do yoga. I remember how badly I hated it the last time I tried, I replied. You should have told me that before I sat down like this, Liam, Pete grumbled. All right, for real now. Calm down and close your eyes. Try to think happy thoughts and ignore any sensations your body sends you. Pete, if you say you need to pee, I'll dragon slave you. We all laughed at that. Okay, calm down now. Try to find your center and think about what you want to know and learn about yourself. Everyone needs to do this for themselves, so I'll be quiet now, I said, settling into my own meditation. Slowly, I lost all my senses and then began to regain them. Suddenly, I was standing before a familiar door. It was the door to a small house, and the sun was setting behind the hills filled with vineyards. I wanted to knock, but the door was already open, so I entered. On the table was a note, dinner is on the stove, don't stay up late. Love you, Lena. Luna. Luna? I thought. Wait, I don't have a sister. I looked out through the window and saw my reflection. I still looked like Lena, but younger. I heated the meal on the stove but realized it was too much. Did she expect me to eat all of this? The door suddenly opened. We're home, an older male voice called. Oh, Lena, you're such a good girl to have prepared dinner, a woman's voice added. I turned and saw a man with light brown hair and a woman with fiery red hair. I was stunned but managed to hold it together. No, I just heated it up. Luna made it, I explained, realizing they must have been Lena's parents. Look at your hands. They're singed. Didn't I tell you not to cast spells like this? James, take her to the bathroom. Both of you wash up. I'll finish this, the woman said, her tone firm but caring. Come on, little one, the older man said, patting me on the back. He placed his sword on the shelf near the door. The sword resembled a Japanese katana and had strange inscriptions along the blade. After washing our hands, we returned to find dinner ready on the table. Where's Luna? The woman asked. She left a note. She'll be working late, I guess, I replied, handing her the paper. We should stop her, she works so hard, the woman said. Just let her be. If she likes it, what's the harm? The man, James, said. Okay, if you say so, the woman replied. Hey Lena, I've got something for you. I'll give it to you after dinner, the man said. So, you really bought it? Even after I told you she's too young for it, the woman began to sound upset. Calm down. I know she has her magic after you, but she needs to learn to defend herself without magic, the man said, smiling. Yeah, but not so young, the woman insisted. I started my sword lessons at 5. She's well past that, he replied, laughing. Promise you'll be careful with her, the woman asked. Don't worry. Unlike you, I intend to teach her my art slowly, not like you did with Dragon Slave, the man said. What was I supposed to do? The guild is full of stubborn idiots who wouldn't let her see the right scrolls, the woman said, exasperated. So Lena, what do you want? Would you like me to start teaching you swordsmanship tomorrow? The man asked. Sure, I would, I replied. It's settled then, he said, smiling. I looked at the flame in the fireplace, which seemed to be burning brighter, almost glowing with an overwhelming white light. Suddenly, I found myself at the door again. I recognized it, it was the library. I entered and was surprised. Instead of the dusty, old library, this place was much cleaner. There were more books, and the place looked well maintained. What happened here? I shouted. I cleaned up a bit while you were gone, the same voice from before replied from behind the counter. What happened just before? I asked, confused. I gave you a part of your memories. A small part, but it's one of the happy memories of your parents. I mean, Lena's parents, she said, wiping the counter with a duster. Why did you give me that memory? Didn't you want it? Was it unpleasant? No, of course not, it just confused me. Now I'm not sure how to feel. Don't worry. When I give you the rest of Lena's memories, you'll be alright. What if I don't want them? One memory confused me, what would a lifetime's worth of memories do to me? Nothing. You'll still be you, just richer. You'll have 2 lifetimes of experience and knowledge. Don't you want to know how you felt when you managed to cast Dragon Slave for the first time? She asked, her voice soft and knowing. I don't know, maybe. Okay, then I'll give you one more to decide, if you're up for it. She snapped her fingers, and in an instant, I was soaring through the air. I lost control, nearly falling, but managed to cast levitation just in time. Lena, what are you doing? Be careful. Losing control of a spell like this could be fatal, the woman called out from below as I floated behind her. We arrived at a barren, desolate mountain range. I love this place, Lena. It's perfect for training my most powerful spells, and no one minds, she said, her voice filled with pride. I can see that. You've certainly left your mark here, Mom, I replied. All right, let's begin. Repeat after me, dark magic spells that allow you to borrow the power of Rubii Shabranigdo. It draws on his strength. Good. Keep that in mind whenever you cast it. Never forget where that power originates, Mom insisted. She then demonstrated. Darkness beyond twilight. Crimson beyond the blood that flows. Buried in the stream of time, where your power grows. Dragon Slave. A massive blast of red energy, shaped like a drill, shot from her hands, blasting into the mountain range. After the huge explosion, only rubble remained. Now it's your turn, Lena, she said. Darkness beyond twilight. My hands instinctively moved over my head. Crimson beyond the blood that flows. Buried in the stream of time, where your power grows. I felt an immense power building in my grasp. I pledge myself to conquer all who stand before the mighty gift bestowed in my unworthy hands. I thrust my hands forward, and the crimson energy began to form. Dragon Slave. The force of the spell felt incredible, overwhelming me with raw power. As the dust settled, I noticed the area affected by my spell was much larger than Mom's. I knew you'd surpass me, but not this soon, Lena. You have a talent for dark magic, and your magical capacity is greater than mine, Mom commented, impressed. I brushed a strand of white hair from my face. What the hell? I checked the rest of my hair. Fortunately, only a few strands were white. Mom, what's going on? I asked, concerned. Don't worry. It's normal. When you drain too much magical energy, your hair turns gray. It's just physical stress. It'll return to normal soon. I have a feeling you might even become one of the great sages with this kind of power. Like Ragnar? I asked eagerly. No, not him. He was just a blind, dangerous fool. I mean like Lay Magnus. At that moment, I was suddenly pulled from the scene and found myself back in the library. Did you enjoy that? Lena, the librarian, asked. I sort of did. I have to admit that. Then what's the problem? The problem is, I'm getting used to being a girl. I don't mind it as much as I used to. And that's a bad thing? Yes, it is for me. I'm afraid of it. What will my real parents think? How would they react to having a daughter instead of a son? I think they wouldn't care as much. They would still love you, even like this. Don't forget, you can't lie to me. I know what you know. Your mom was really excited to dress you up. I know, but that was just for fun. What about my friends? What about school and my old life? You'd manage somehow. I know you would. Maybe, but I can't imagine how. Anyway, I've never run from anything in my life, and I'm not going to start now. Let's do this. I'll deal with whatever happens. No regrets later, promise? The librarian asked. I swear. All right. One last thing before I entrust you with everything. You won't see me again. I'll give you all I can, my memories, everything that makes me who I am. I knew it, I said, pointing at her. I never said I wasn't her. I'm what you might call the soul of Lena in verse. Everything I can give you is already in you. I'm just here to release it slowly, but I think you can handle it now. We'll see. I'm going to miss you. Don't lie. You saw me twice. Yeah, but I see something in your eyes. What is it? Compassion, guilt, empathy, and a bit of playfulness. Funny. That's exactly what I see in your eyes, and more. Get ready. Here it goes. I don't feel anything. Tell me, where did you get these gloves? She asked. Suddenly, it hit me. Mom gave them to me, I said, shocked. That's not right. Mom never gave me girly gloves. Go on, the librarian urged. They were a special blend of fire-resistant material with mana transfer-enhancing properties. She gave them to me after I singed my hands really badly one day. She knew I loved fire spells. It was all so strange. The bandana was from an old sorcerer, the earrings were a gift from Dad for my 12th birthday. I can remember. I remember everything, my first steps as Lena, my first attempts to walk, all my battles, and my friends. Playfulness, honesty, selflessness, and most importantly, a good heart, the librarian said as she faded away. Wait! I reached out to her, but the counter blocked my path. I knew I would miss her. Leaning over the counter, I looked at my hands, deep in thought. I sat on the counter, reflecting on her presence. I had so many more questions for her, but I hadn't even said thank you for all she had given me. It made me sad. I glanced down at the tiles, noticing the inscription, knowing yourself is the beginning of all wisdom. Because of her, I had found myself. I was Lucas Anderson, but also Lena in verse, and I would always remember this. Even if I eventually changed back, it didn't seem as important now. A spell I had loved as a child came to mind, Living Fire. I played with it, sitting on the counter. It brought me some comfort, something I desperately needed after everything that had happened. I wondered how the others were doing. I walked to the door, savoring the atmosphere. My footsteps echoed through the hall, and I never realized how different my walk sounded. As I stepped over the inscription, it disappeared. I closed my eyes and stepped through the door, leaving the library behind without a second glance. I woke up in bed at the inn where we had decided to stay the night. Someone must have put me there. That meant the meditation hadn't worked for them. I sat up and saw Alice, combing her hair. What happened? I asked sleepily, getting out of bed and searching for my boots. You're awake? Good. I'll be done in a minute, you can use the brush after me. Okay, never mind that. What happened? Was I the only one? Yeah. After you dropped, we decided to stop. We were worried about you and couldn't relax anymore. Jen and Pete went to their room when you didn't wake up. I had to check your vitals before they could leave. They were so worried they stayed all night. What happened to you, anyway? It's a long story, and kinda private. Let's just say I meditated, I yawned and splashed water on my face, feeling refreshed. You finally got that walk right. Alice said, still combing her hair and glancing at me as I walked back to sit on the bed. Did I? I don't feel any different. You walk differently, trust me. If I had to compare, I'd say you move more lightly, gracefully than before. Does it have anything to do with what happened when you meditated? I don't know. I don't feel any different, I yawned and stretched. What happened then? I got her memories. Her soul kind of fused with mine, I said, running my hand through my hair. Whose? Lena's? And how do you feel? Alice asked, turning her head to face me. Not bad. Actually, really good. It might sound weird, but for the first time here, I feel whole again. And what about the memories? Are you okay with having them? I don't know yet. I only have a few, and I haven't tried to remember any more from Lena's life, but they're there. Thanks to them, this body doesn't feel so alien anymore. I would love to hear the details, Alice smiled. I'm sorry, but that's private, I said, refusing to share more. Are you hiding something? No. Don't be silly. I waved it off. All of it? At least tell me, was Luna as bad as they portrayed her? I froze immediately. Who? Where? Hide me. You have to. I want to live. I panicked, like a rabbit spotting a hawk. Calm down, she's not here. What a relief, I breathed out, feeling the tension ease. To tell you the truth, Luna was fine. It's just me. I did something I'm ashamed of, and I couldn't face her. I felt embarrassed, recalling what Lena had done. You really got her memories, didn't you? You walk like her, talk like her, and even fear the same things, Alice said. Talk like her? I asked, confused. Yeah. You used a few gestures and phrases only a girl would use, Alice pointed out. I was left wondering if she was right. I didn't notice any significant difference in how I acted. Don't forget, it's still me you're talking to. Just because I've adopted a few traits doesn't mean I've completely changed into her. Anyway, I think we should get ready and head out. It's already daylight, I said, trying to shift the focus. We can stop for breakfast at that bakery. I saw one on our way here, Alice suggested. Good idea. Let's go wake the others, they're probably still sleeping. Do you know where their room is? I asked, a little confused. Just down the hallway, third door on the right, Alice replied. All right, let me brush my hair first. I don't want it getting tangled, it'll be a nightmare to deal with later. I was surprised at how quickly I did it, It was like I'd done it 1,000 times before. I realized I had. We tidied up our room and packed our things before heading out to get the guys. They were already awake. While they got ready, Alice and I went to the reception. I paid for our stay, and we waited outside for the others. As we stepped out of the inn, I stretched and yawned. The sun felt great today. It was shining brightly, almost as if there was no tomorrow. We sat on a small bench in front of the inn. I crossed my legs and relaxed, savoring the exceptionally nice morning. The air still had a bit of the coolness from the night, but in a pleasant way. I loved mornings like this, and I knew Lena did too. Every morning like this reminded me that despite life's struggles, it's still worth living. You seem to be in a good mood today, Alice said, sitting next to me on the bench. Yeah, I love mornings like this. Back home, I rarely had time to enjoy them. The smell of a new day in the air, the warm and inviting sun, I said, almost lounging on the bench, face turned toward the sun with my eyes closed. You're really romantic. What about Lena? She loved mornings like this, but I think she was one of those rare people who loved life without any reservations, I said, smiling as I remembered some of her happier moments. I moved my head slightly, which made me notice my earrings swaying. Lena had loved that feeling. I didn't mind it, but it made me more aware of how I looked now. And what about you? I guess I'm more optimistic now, thanks to her. My emotions are getting the better of me, I said thoughtfully while adjusting my belts. That's not a bad thing. I think it makes you a better person, more honest. We sat there for a while longer until Pete and Jen finally came out of the inn. Where have you guys been? We've been waiting forever. I'm starving, let's go grab something to eat, I said, standing up. Do you know how long it takes to manage hair this long? Jen replied. Tell me about it, I said, gesturing to my own hair with a smile. You smile like you actually like having long hair, Pete joked. I know you're just joking, but to be honest, I do like it. It feels really nice, especially when I run my hand through it. Maybe when we get back home, I'll let my hair grow for a bit, I said with a grin. Pete looked at me with a worried expression. What? I asked. Nothing. It's just, you couldn't stand having long hair before. I discovered a few advantages. Anyway, let's go. I'm really hungry. We set off toward the pastry shop. So, did you sleep well? I asked, a little irritated. Yeah, really well, Jen replied, which caused my eye to twitch. I try to help you meditate, and in the end, I'm the only one who managed to do it. You need to try harder next time. By the way, what happened to you? You were out for so long, and you also seem to be speaking a bit differently, like with an accent or something, Pete asked, surprised. Do I? That's weird, I said, playing dumb. Alice smiled knowingly in my direction. Yeah, he's right. I noticed it too. You finally walk like you should. You also seem to be speaking more lightly, with an accent. If I didn't know better, I'd say you switched with Lena. Didn't know better, eh? I put my hand on the back of my neck nervously. So, what happened? Do we have to beat it out of you? Pete pushed. All right, I'll tell you. It's kind of personal and sensitive, you know? What is Lena? Jen asked. You see, it's like this. I now have all her memories, her experiences, and maybe even some personality traits, as Alice pointed out, I said, rubbing the back of my neck. You had some of those personality traits even before we got here. It can't be that big of a change, Pete said. Hey! What's that supposed to mean? I shot an angry glare at him. Even your temper's gotten worse. You have a much shorter fuse, Pete said, irritating me again. Do you want to hear it all or not? I scowled back at him. Of course we do, Alice said. Alright, I can only remember bits and pieces so far, but everything's there. I don't really want to try to recall everything all at once. The memories come to me gradually, and I don't really know how to approach them. They don't feel any less real than my own. In fact, they feel just as much like mine, and honestly, I don't think I'd want to give them up now. Jen and Alice blinked, which made me feel a little uneasy. I've always wondered, what about your blood type? Jen asked, catching me off guard. I thought for a moment. How would I know? Oh wait, I remember, there was that time at the magic lab. A plus, I guess. Our terminology might be a bit different, but it should still match. It's like before I changed, though. I couldn't remember for a while. Why do you ask? I said, looking up at the clouds. Just curious about how much you've changed, Jen replied. Okay, next question. What happened when you lost control of the Giga Slave, and the Sea of Chaos almost consumed you? That made me blush furiously. I remembered some of the feelings, but I couldn't recall everything clearly. Why'd you have to bring that up? I'm not sure what happened. I have conflicting feelings about it. It's really personal to me, so don't make me answer that, I muttered. What happened exactly? I didn't catch the full episode, Alice asked, trying to remember. She kissed Garrett there. They confessed their love, but when they came back, they forgot about it. That moment was the only thing they remembered, Jen explained. Jen! I shouted, more embarrassed than I had ever been. I'm sorry, Liam, but I'm not the kind of person who keeps secrets, Jen replied. You could have stayed quiet about it, it's your business. I shot back. Oh, our little Lena's in love. Pete teased, just as I was seriously considering using Dragon Slave on him. You really don't want to mess with me right now. I yelled back. Then, to my surprise, a tear rolled down my face. What? Why am I crying? Was Jen right? I started to realize she probably was. I did miss them all, Amelia with her constant justice speeches, Zane with his calm and analytical perspective, and most of all, I missed Garrett. I was lucky enough to still have him with me. Wait, since when did I start thinking of Jen this way? What's going on, Lena? Are you crying? What happened? Jen asked, clearly concerned. I turned my face away, trying to hide the fact that I was crying. Nothing. Just something in my eye. Stupid dust. I managed to say, my voice trembling. Then, I felt Jen pull me into an embrace. Tell me what's wrong. Don't hold it in, trust me, I know what this feels like, Jen whispered in my ear. You have no idea. I can't. I just can't. I shook my head, overwhelmed by the weight of the memories. I'm a mess with all these memories. I remembered all my old friends, well, her friends, Amelia, Zane, and Garrett. I didn't realize at first, but they were really close to me, to her. I miss them so much. We went through a lot together. I know they're just characters in an anime series, but to me, they feel real now. Don't worry, you'll be okay, Jen said softly as she turned me around so we were face to face. I couldn't look away, even though I desperately wanted to. It'll be okay, trust me. You'll get through this. I could feel tears rolling down my face again, just when I thought I had gotten a hold of myself. Jen wrapped me in another embrace. Let it out, maybe that's what you need. Don't worry, just cry. And I did, pouring all my worries out to Jen, though I kept a few for myself. I'm sorry. I really am. I don't know what got into me. I'm not used to breaking down like this. Thank you, I guess I needed to say all this to someone, I said, wiping away my tears. Anytime. Just remember I'm here for you. Anyway, where's the rest of the group? I asked, trying to steer the conversation away from my breakdown. They went ahead to give us some privacy. Let's go then. I grabbed Jen's hand and we hurried in the direction Alice and Pete had gone. When we caught up to them, we could already see the pastry shop in the distance. Hey, here you are. You thought you could eat it all without us? I joked. You got us. Now we're screwed. Pete teased back. So, are you okay now? Alice asked cautiously. Yeah, thanks to Garrett here. I pointed at Jen, still catching my breath after the run. Let's go grab some breakfast. Pete called as we reached the pastry shop. We bought breakfast and some supplies for our journey and then headed out of the city, making our way toward the capital. You don't need to hold back on my account anymore. I'm good now. I just needed to get some things in check, and I feel much better. I think I really needed to share my worries, I said, feeling lighter. Do you feel like sharing what was going on back there? Alice asked, her expression filled with concern. I remembered Lena's friends. The ones she traveled with in the anime. I realized I'll never see them again, and it hit me hard. I loved them all. I would have laid down my life for them. That's how strongly I feel about them. I didn't know you had such a noble side, but it makes sense when I think about it. You were always like that, even before all this happened, Jen added. Was I? I asked, surprised. Yeah, you were. Remember that fight in the club? You defended me, even though you ended up with a broken nose. But you won, Jen reminded me. I remember that, I said, touching my nose, which was now small and without a mark. But my nose seems to have forgotten. I joked, and we all laughed as we passed the sign marking the end of the village borders. I'd have to remember that. We walked along a dirt path through the forest, the peaceful atmosphere surrounding us. I could hear the wind through the trees and birds flitting about. Isn't it nice here? I asked, walking with my hands behind my head. Yeah, but remember, it could be dangerous. Snakes, wild animals, and all that, Pete warned with a grin. We reached the edge of a lake, smaller than the one we'd seen earlier. I was thirsty, so I took off my gloves and tried the water. It was crystal clear and tasted great, with no unpleasant aftertaste like tap water. I thought I heard unfamiliar voices, but it could have just been the wind. After we refreshed ourselves, we continued on our way, but the voices returned. I looked around, but saw nothing unusual. What's wrong, Lena? Alice asked. I thought I heard something, voices, or something similar. And you can call me by my name again, we seem to be alone here. Okay, but I think Lena suits you much better, Alice said with a twinkle in her eyes. Don't even start. Maybe it's just the wind, Jen suggested, putting her arm around my shoulder to comfort me. Maybe, I said, still unsure, glancing around. After about an hour of walking, we decided to take a snack break. We found a small grassy clearing. Just as we began eating, 11 bandits suddenly appeared from the woods, surrounding us. Among them was a dark figure cloaked in a hood. Pay up, kids, their leader shouted as they drew their swords. I set my snack down on the log and dusted off my hands. I'll pay all right, I said, standing to face him. Not so fast. We were warned about you, sorceress. Give us your gold and we'll let you go, the leader demanded. And exactly what did they tell you about me? I asked, raising an eyebrow. That there's a girl with a really flat chest who pays in gold and can use magic, one bandit said. My eye twitched at the flat remark. First of all, you'll regret calling me flat. No one gets away with that. Second, interrupting my meal is unforgivable. Third, you must be an idiot to try robbing us, I said, holding my hand out, counting off each point on my fingers. You've got guts for a little girl, but don't worry, we'll take care of that, the leader said, drawing his sword. My eye twitched again at the little girl comment. I'm not a little girl. I'm 18, and you should know better than to challenge a sorceress. You'll regret this, I said, drawing my dagger. The bandits advanced, but I gestured for the others to stay close. Jen drew her sword, and we stood back to back. You think you can handle that sword? I whispered. I'll try, Jen whispered back. The bandits charged. Shadow snap. I quickly cast, freezing the leader in place. Jen blocked 2 bandits while Pete and Alice dodged, buying time. I intercepted 3 bandits attacking Pete and Alice with flare arrows. The arrows burned straight through them. The remaining bandits hesitated, clearly afraid. What did you do to me, you little witch? I can't move, one bandit shouted. That's for me to know, and for you to find out. I suggest you back off before things get worse, I said, raising my finger. You little witch, you won't leave here alive. I brought a match for you. I brought a wizard. Reveal yourself, altar, the leader shouted, stepping aside as a cloaked figure appeared. The other bandits stayed in position, ready to strike at the slightest sign of weakness, but they were clearly cautious now. I looked at the new figure, altar. Good thinking, but don't think he can match me, I said to the head bandit. I pity any magician who aligns themselves with someone like you. You should know better, I taunted, directing my insult at the mage. You have quite a formidable magic aura. I've never seen one like yours, but that doesn't make a difference, Alter remarked, launching a ball of ice toward me. I countered with a flare arrow, and both spells collided, creating a puff of vapor. Not bad for a third-rate wizard. You're unlucky that one of my friends specializes in ice spells. I picked up a few things. Ice is used like this. I smirked. Van Rail, I shouted, slamming my hand on the ground. The spell froze the bandits in place, engulfing the wizard. I stepped closer, retrieved my dagger, and saw that the ice had trapped them up to their waists. That's when I felt it, he was attempting to put a mind control spell on me. My bandana sparked. So, you know a few tricks. You should know that these cheap tricks are pointless against someone like me. No matter, Alter yelled. I noticed the ice starting to melt around him. I'll give you one last chance to turn tail and run. No way, you little witch, the head bandit shouted. Without hesitation, I fired a fireball at half the bandits, incinerating them instantly. The rest scattered, fleeing in terror. I really hate killing magicians, it's bad for my karma. What do you say? Surrender? I offered, keeping my voice steady. I do not, the bandit leader sneered, but I don't mind killing anyone if the price is right. Exactly what I wanted to hear, he said, trying to cast another ice spell. I intercepted it with a fireball, which disintegrated his spell and continued to his position. The explosion was quick and final. We watched as the wizard was blown to pieces. Then, I realized I had forgotten about the bandit leader. He attacked in a sudden move, and I barely dodged. My eyes went wide in shock, and I tried to block with my hand. The sword cut deep between my glove and sleeve, and I cried out in pain. Tears welled up as the pain clouded my vision. I quickly cast a healing spell, but Jen dealt with him swiftly, cutting him down in one stroke. I quickly removed my glove to stem the bleeding, holding the wound with my free hand. Blood poured out, and it hurt like nothing I'd ever felt before. I was lucky the sword hadn't broken any bones. The pain was unbearable, but I managed to keep the blood from staining my clothes. Are you okay? Pete rushed over, looking concerned. Idiot, how could she be okay? That wound needs at least 11 stitches. Alice exclaimed, horrified. Don't worry. I'll be fine, just a scratch, I tried to reassure them, wincing as I wiped away the tears. Are you sure? Because that looks like more than just a scratch, Jen said, stepping closer. I'll be all right, really, I said, gritting my teeth, trying to avoid breaking down further. Don't push yourself. We'll take care of you, Jen added, as she sat down beside me, looking worried. We waited in silence, and I tried to focus on breathing through the pain. But I'm a girl now. I wasn't just a few days ago. Try to imagine losing grip on who you are. I think that alone would drive anyone crazy. I think you should just accept it, or you'll drive yourself mad. If you really think about it, you'll probably be able to tell which memories are yours and which are hers, Alice tried to reason with me. I'll try, but that doesn't mean I have to be happy about any of this, I replied, looking down at my hand. When Pete came back, he had a piece of his old red shirt, wet from the lake. You didn't have to rip up your shirt for me, I said, disappointed. I was going to toss it anyway, Pete shrugged. Why? Alice asked, surprised. I tore it up in the forest earlier. I noticed it at the inn. Good thing you bought new clothes, Alice said with a smile. Yeah, Pete agreed, handing me the wet shirt. How's your hand? Almost healed, I replied, cleaning my hands and the area around my wound. It had shrunk significantly. A few more minutes, and I'll be as good as new. I'm lucky I learned white magic, I added. This magic really does come in handy, Jen said with a grin. It does. I'm lucky he didn't ruin my clothes. I'd hate to part with any of them. They fit perfectly, and they're really comfortable. I can repair them with magic, but only to an extent. That makes sense. She's had that outfit for so long in the anime. It's a logical conclusion, Jen said, thoughtfully. Well, I remember that one time I coughed up blood onto my shirt after getting injured by casting Ragnablade when I tried to kill Gav. It dried on the fabric. I had to use magic to get rid of it later. There were many times I did something like that. I even carried a spare copy of my clothes, made by the best tailors I could find, and they did a great job. Where? Lena never had a backpack, Jen asked, puzzled. Pocket dimension, I said. I first carried my things in my cape, but later I discovered a really hard spell for storing things. Not many mages knew it. In order for it to work, it needed an anchor bag or pouch to hold the dimension attached to ours. I used my cape and the pockets in it. Anyway, enough of that. I don't want to dive too deep into those memories. Like I said, it really confuses me. Okay, but I think you should explore it more, like Alice said before. If I were you, I'd want to know everything about Lena's life, Jen suggested, walking closer to me. You should try being in my shoes. I snapped, angry. Jen stopped and looked down. I'm sorry, you're right. I didn't mean it like that. Forgive me. I relaxed my hands, regretting what I had said. You just said what you were thinking. It's true, I got you into this mess, Liam. Thanks to me, you're like this, Jen said, her expression full of guilt. Stop, Jen. We've been over this. It's my fault for insisting on checking out that shop, I said, walking closer to her. I made you wear that costume, Jen said, her voice full of regret. And we had fun. You were right about the costumes, it was fun to do something like that. If I had worn something else, it could have been worse. It's not the costume's fault, it's my curiosity. I was the one who opened that damn box, I said, pulling Jen into a hug, surprising her. I can't let you take the blame, especially when you've paid such a heavy price. I can see it now, Jen said, refusing to let me take the blame. Let's break it down. I was the one who saw the shop, I was curious, I found the box, and I opened it. The blame is clearly mine, and you paid for it along with me. Stop being an idiot. You had no way of knowing what would happen. It's nobody's fault. It's just a bad coincidence that we ended up here like this. And Liam, stop taking all the blame. This has to stop. Pete suddenly spoke up, surprising me. Even if it was your fault, which it isn't, you've paid the highest price of all of us, Jen said, trying to calm me down. I don't think so. I got something out of it. Before, I wouldn't have been able to get rid of those bandits, but now I took care of them easily. I wouldn't have been able to do that before. Anyway, I'm still hungry. I broke the hug, a bit embarrassed. My hand was fully healed now. I slipped my gloves on, and as I did, Alice came closer to check my hand. Amazing, not even a scar, she said, impressed. Of course not. This spell works perfectly. I'm not some amateur magician. Now, where was I? Ah, here it is, I said, walking over to the log where my snack had been. But it was burned to a crisp. I must have hit it while attacking the bandits. No! My food! I yelled, and I was sure the entire forest heard me. Calm down. You can have mine, Jen offered. Thanks, Garrett, but no. I'm just mad I burned it along with them, I said, taking off my gloves. Let's get to work, I declared, looking at the dead bandits to figure out where to start. Again? You're really greedy like her, Pete teased. Why? They're dead, and they don't need the gold anymore. We do, and I had to work for it. I even spilled blood this time, I replied as I started searching through the bandits. We found more gold and gems, which we divided among ourselves. I put the gems with the rest of them I already had, and we continued on our journey. We walked until dusk, thankful that there were no more surprises, just trees. We found a good spot to camp. Pete set up the fireplace, and Jen gathered some wood. I caught some fish from a nearby river, and we had our dinner. Alice was lost in thought, reflecting on everything that had happened. Okay, I think we have a good chance of reaching the next town tomorrow, so we should get some sleep. It's been a busy day for all of us. I'll take the first watch, I suggested. No, I'll do it. You need to rest. You almost lost your hand today, Pete argued. I'm fine. You don't need to go easy on me. I've been through worse. What? When? Pete asked. When Ragnar stabbed me at the flagoon. I was lucky Silfiel was there, I replied casually. Liam? That happened to Lena, Alice said, surprised. Yeah, like I said, it's hard to separate the memories. You need rest. It's not just because you got cut. You're a girl, you need your beauty sleep. Just drop it. You're off guard duty for tonight, Pete insisted. Okay then. I see there's no point in arguing, I said, my tone a bit resigned and frustrated. What's wrong? Jen asked, noticing my expression. I'm thinking about home. What my parents are doing. They've probably already called the cops to look for us. Yeah, you're right. I never thought about it, but we've been here for days already. Yeah, but it's not just that I'm worried about. What if we can't change back, even if we get home? What will we do then? I asked, anxiety creeping in. We'll find a way to turn back, Pete reassured. I'm not so sure. I'm beginning to lose hope. I have no clue how to fix this. I don't even know how it happened in the first place, and I should be a magic expert. It might be a kind of magic you don't know about. Something like the magic from Harry Potter, Alice said with a smile. Don't be ridiculous. No magic works like that. It's silly to use sticks to do magic. Power always has to be channeled through the soul of the caster. No stick is needed for that. It might not be wrong to assume that all magic is the same as yours, Lena, Jen said, putting an arm around me as I sat with my legs drawn to my chest. It might not be, but that magician didn't use a wand either. His magic felt similar to mine, yet it was different in many ways. His spells seemed much weaker than mine, and I don't think it was just because he wasn't skilled. Anyway, Back to my point, what if we can't change back? What then? I said, lost in thought. I don't know. It could be a lot of trouble. No one would believe it's us. Not our parents, nor the authorities. Our ID cards would be useless, Alice said, sounding worried. Yeah, that's exactly my point. I can't even imagine showing up at home like this. It's just wrong. What would I even say to them? Hi, Mom. Hi, Dad. It's me. I'm back. I think you're overthinking it. First off, your parents are better than you give them credit for. We can convince them it's really you. You went out as Lena, right? You look a little different now, sure, but you're still recognizable, Jen said confidently. I don't know about that. I might be able to convince them it's really me, but what happens after? How would they react? It would break them. Why? Alice asked, puzzled. Look at me. I'm a girl now. I'm not the person I was. This is probably going to be really hard for them to accept. They'll deal with it. I know your parents. Your dad might be shocked at first, but in the end, he'll accept it. Your mom will probably be thrilled. She once told me she wanted a daughter, Jen said seriously. I had a feeling. When Mom accepted you so quickly after I told them I loved you and wanted to stay with you, I had my suspicions. What worries me is that they'll actually accept me like this. I think I get it, Jen said with a somewhat sad expression. Yeah, I think we all feel that way, some just more than others, Alice added, still looking at me with concern, her gaze lingering on the fire. Looking at the flames had a calming effect on me. Say cheese, Alice said, snapping a photo of me and Jen. Why'd you do that? I asked, annoyed. I want you to have something to remember when we get home and things go back to normal, she said, trying to lighten the mood. It worked a little. I think I'll call it a night, I said, looking around for a comfortable spot. Yeah, me too, Jen agreed. You're right, we should all get some rest, Alice commented, pulling back the camera. I unclasped my cape and removed my pauldrons. I laid the cape near the fireplace like a blanket and placed the pauldrons next to it. Good night, everyone. Wake me up, Pete. I'll take second watch, I said, and Pete nodded in agreement. Jen lay close to me, and Alice sat on the other side with Pete. I lay on my back, gazing at the sky, enjoying the warmth of the fire and the cooler night air. I didn't recognize any constellations, but I didn't mind, it was beautiful. The lack of light pollution here made the stars shine brighter, and I could clearly see what looked like the Milky Way, but it had an X-shaped formation. This planet must be part of a galaxy merging with another. I imagined how it would look if two colossal galaxies collided. Slowly, I drifted to sleep. That night, I had a terrible dream. I was standing in a field of scorched earth, with a dead forest behind me. The air smelled of melting tar, smoke, and something sulfurous. Beside me stood Jen, but, wait a minute, it wasn't Jen. Behind me stood Zane. No, this wasn't the right place. I turned around, and there he was, Shabranigdo, emerging from a pool of lava. My knees went weak, I knew I couldn't run, and I was paralyzed with fear. I couldn't move, even if I tried. Let's go, we either beat him or die trying, I said, clinging to the last bit of courage I had. The battle didn't go well for us. Garrett threw me his sword, but before I could grab it, I was hit by Shabranigdo's needle attack. It was the worst pain I'd ever felt, like every cell in my body was screaming. Despite the pain, I managed to stand and began casting Gigaslave. But something went wrong. I felt my soul being ripped from my body, and I watched myself fall to the ground. Everything went black, as a darkness ripped me apart, and I screamed. I woke up, screaming, soaked in sweat. My hands trembled uncontrollably. What happened? What is it? Pete asked, sitting next to a tree where he'd been on guard. He rushed over to me, and Jen and Alice also woke up, demanding to know what had happened. "You look like you saw death itself," Pete said. "You're not far from the truth," I managed to say, still shaking like a dog in a blizzard. Jen saw my state and moved closer, hugging me tightly. "It's okay now." "What happened to you?" she asked, whispering in my ear. "Really bad dream." "A nightmare times 1,000, I said, looking at my hands. "I don't think so. I've gained something from this. Before, I wouldn't have been able to take care of those bandits. But now, I handled them easily. I couldn't have done that before. Anyway, I'm still hungry." I pulled away from the hug, feeling a bit embarrassed. My hand had healed completely now, so I put my gloves back on. As I did, Alice came closer to check out my hand. "Amazing, not even a scar," she remarked, surprised. "Of course. This spell works perfectly." "I'm not some amateur magician," I said, walking over to where I had left my snack. It was burned to a crisp, likely due to the battle with the bandits. "No! My food!" I groaned, loud enough for the entire forest to hear. "Calm down. You can have mine," Jen offered. "Thanks, Garrett, but no. I'm just upset I burned my food with them," I said, taking off my gloves. "Let's get to work," I said, eyeing the bandits. "Where should we start?" "Again? You really are greedy, just like her," Pete joked. "Why not? They're dead, and they don't need gold anymore." "We do, and I had to work for it. I even spilled my blood this time," I said, as I started searching the bandits. We found some gold and gems, which we divided up among ourselves. I put my share of gems with the rest I already had. We continued our journey to the next town, walking until dusk. Thankfully, no more surprises came our way, just endless trees. We found a nice spot to camp. Pete set up the fire, and Jen went to gather wood. I caught some fish from a nearby river, so we had a nice dinner. Alice was deep in thought, reflecting on everything that had happened. "I think we have a good chance of reaching the next town tomorrow, so we should probably get some rest. It's been a busy day for all of us." "I'll take the first watch," I said, trying to wrap things up. "No, I'll do it. You need to rest. You almost got your hand cut off today," Pete argued. "I'm fine. You don't have to go easy on me. I've been through worse injuries," I said, rubbing my neck. "What? When?" "Well, there was the time Ragnar drilled a hole in me at Flagun. I was lucky Silfiel was around," I said nonchalantly. "Liam?" "That happened to Lena," Alice said, surprised. "Like I said, it's hard to separate the memories. You need rest, it's not just because you got cut. You're a girl now, you need your beauty sleep. Just drop it." "You're off guard duty for tonight," Pete said, his tone firm. "Okay, I'll rest." "I see there's no point in arguing," I said with a resigned, slightly frustrated look. "What's wrong?" Jen asked, noticing my expression. "I'm just thinking about home. What my parents must be doing. They've probably called the cops to search for us by now." "Yeah, but I never thought about it until now, but we've been here for a few days already," Alice added. "Yeah, but it's not just that. What if we can't change back when we get home? What do we do then?" I said, anxiety creeping into my voice. "We'll find a way to turn back to normal," Pete reassured me. "I'm not so sure. I'm starting to lose hope. I have no idea how to fix this. I don't even know how it happened in the first place, and I'm supposed to be a magic expert. It could be magic that you don't understand, something completely different. Maybe like the magic from Harry Potter?" Alice said, smiling. "Don't be ridiculous. No magic works like that. Wands aren't needed for magic. Power always comes from the caster's soul. No stick is necessary, I said dismissively. It's probably wrong to assume all magic works the same way, Lena, Jen pointed out, while putting her arm around me as I sat, hugging my knees. Maybe not, but that magician didn't use any wand. His magic felt familiar, similar to mine, but also different in many ways. Those spells seemed less powerful than mine, and I don't think it's just because he wasn't skilled. Anyway, back to my original concern, what if we can't change back? What do we do then? I don't know. It would be a lot of trouble. No one would believe us, not our parents, not the authorities. Our ID cards would be useless now, Alice said, looking worried. It's okay now, don't worry. It was just a dream. Jen spoke in a comforting tone, as if speaking to a child. What kind of dream did you have? It must have been a really bad nightmare if it made you react like that, Alice said, her concern clear. I know it was a dream, but it still felt so real. To sum it up, I was standing in a field, fighting Shabranigdo. It didn't go as it did in the anime. I failed casting Gigaslave, and it tore me and the whole world apart. That feeling, being consumed by fear, like drowning in an ocean of chaos with no escape. I said, my voice still shaky. Was that a memory? Pete asked. No. More like an interpretation of what might happen if I miscast it. It's similar to when Aunt Aqua showed me what could happen. I don't get why this nightmare happened now. I haven't even thought about casting that spell. Yeah, you might not consciously think about it, but you still know that spell. You know what it can do. It's natural for fears to show up in dreams when we're upset. I think losing yourself, like you said before, isn't just your biggest fear. I can't imagine having the power to destroy the world in my hands like you do, Jen said, her concern deepening. But I never wanted to cast that spell. I insisted, trying to reassure myself. Before, I might have used it to get us home, but now? There was no way I'd ever cast it. Okay, if you're all right, let's go back to sleep. I'm exhausted, Alice said. I'm fine, you go ahead. I don't think I'll be able to sleep. Not tonight, at least. I'll take guard duty since Pete's out anyway. No, I wasn't. Don't lie. There's no reason to. We're all tired. It's fine. Just get some rest, I'll stay on watch. I can't let you stay up alone after something like that, Jen said, holding my hand. I felt embarrassed for some reason. There's no point in two of us staying awake. I'm okay now. It was just a nightmare. I'm not 8 years old anymore. I would love to see you 8 years old like this, Alice said with stars in her eyes. Geez, would you really? I said sarcastically, which caused her to smile with a mischievous grin. Just hit the sack already. I'm fine, I said, crossing my arms and sitting with determination. Okay, then, Pete said. If you insist. I'm not going to argue with the bandit killer, he added. I closed my eyes, trying to calm myself. I was angry at the slightest remark. Before, I would have shaken it off, but now, it irritated me more than ever. All right, I said as I moved to sit by the tree close to the fireplace, where Pete had been. I needed some back support, my shoulders were sore from the armor I'd worn all day. With them free, they were still aching. What are you doing? I asked Jen, who was heading over to sit beside me. What do you mean? I intend to stay on guard with you, she said. There's no need, you yogurt brain. I blurted out, and then quickly covered my mouth. Wait, did I just say that? I blushed. See, Lena? You need me here, Jen teased. I went silent, trying to figure out why I'd said that as she settled down next to me by the tree. These stars are weird. Weird, but really beautiful, Jen said, looking up at the sky in awe. Yeah, I noticed. They're kind of pretty if I think about it. It looks like we're part of merging galaxies. Hey, Liam. I didn't want to ask before, but now that we have time. How are you holding up? I guess I'm all right. It's all really confusing, but I can manage, I said. Why can't you just admit you're upset about it all? I can see it in you. I've known you long enough to recognize when you're tense, Jen said, wrapping her arm around my shoulders. Ouch! I cried out in pain as I moved. What is it? Jen asked, confused. Oh, wait. You have sore shoulders from that armor, don't you? Let me help you, Jen said, moving closer to massage my stiff shoulders. It felt incredible. Stop, Jen, what if they wake up? It's embarrassing, I tried to argue, even though it felt really good. Why do you mind all of a sudden? It's just that it should be me doing that. Wait, let me rephrase that. It used to be me doing that. Yeah, now I can pay you back. Isn't it great? But what if they wake up? I'd never live it down if they saw us like this. Oh, now you mind? What about back at the pond? You didn't mind when you kissed me there, Jen said, pulling me closer. That was different-ish, I said awkwardly. In what way? Jen asked, suspicious. We were alone there. No, we weren't. They didn't see us kiss. They knew. How could they? Trust me, they knew. Okay, you're the expert on this, so I'll trust you, I said, unable to hold back a smile. I can't believe this. I'm so frustrated. According to magical mechanics, this shouldn't even be possible. I'm supposed to be an expert in magic, and yet here I am, completely clueless. Someone who can master spells after reading them once, and I'm still useless, I said, sitting on a large stone boulder, my head in my hands, feeling ashamed. Are you sure about that? You handled those bandits with no problem. You saved us, Jen pointed out. Did I? I don't think so. I was careless, and I nearly got cut in half. If Jen hadn't been there, I'd be dead by now. Well, I'd be dead if you hadn't cast those flare arrows like a pro and taken out those bandits in time, she replied. It was nothing, just instinct. Simple spells I've cast 1,000 times. I couldn't let them harm any of you. I started that fight, after all. You definitely didn't. They would have killed us even if we gave them all our gold, Alice added, and I had to agree. No bandit could be trusted. Maybe, but I was too overconfident for my own good. I've never been this way before. New world, new tactics. It could be part of Lena's personality, or just you adjusting to the world we're in now. I think if I were in your shoes, I wouldn't be making such a big deal out of it. You might be right, but still, I don't like this, I said, stretching my back and yawning. See? I don't think you'd have done that before, Alice teased. I still think you're overreacting. Let's wake the others up, she said as she headed back to the camp. When we arrived, we found Jen and Pete already awake and talking. Good morning, Alice greeted them. Yeah, it is. I slept like a rock, Pete replied. I went straight to where I'd left my cape and armor, only to find Pete had been sleeping on it. No wonder you slept so well, you're using my cape as your bed, I said, irritated. I couldn't resist. It smelled so nice, Pete replied, making me even more annoyed. You have 5 seconds, or I'll fry you, you perverted little creep. I threatened. Okay, geez. You're so touchy today, Pete said, finally getting off my cape. Who wouldn't be? You crumpled it up, and now I look like I slept in a haystack. Speaking of which, Alice, do you still have that brush? I asked, sitting down on my cape as Pete left. Yeah. Here, catch. Alice tossed it to me. Thanks. I'll need to buy my own next time we're in town. Wait a minute, I said, focusing on my cape and its pocket dimension. I concentrated and pulled out my old brush. It was nearly identical to the one Alice had tossed to me, with a golden handle and metal pins, though the tips were more plastic-like. It still had some of my orange hair on it. Okay, Alice, thanks, but I forgot that I have my own, I said, handing it back to her. Wow, that must have been expensive. It was, but I couldn't find a better one, I said, brushing my hair. What else do you have in that cape? Jen asked, returning from the river. I'm not sure, but there's a lot of stuff. Even more gold, I think. It's also enchanted to keep me warm in cold weather and to be extra soft when I sleep on it. Not to mention it smells sweet and flowery, Pete chimed in as he came back. I sniffed at it, and it did indeed smell nice. Now I remember. It's that perfume I bought in Saruin, I said, setting the brush aside and rummaging through my cape. I pulled out a small bottle of pinkish liquid, opened the lid, and applied a bit to my neck. It smells really nice. The lid must have loosened a bit, now the whole cape smells like it, I laughed a little. You giggled? Alice asked, surprised. No, I didn't. I quickly denied it. Oh, yes, you did. I know a giggle when I hear one, Jen confirmed with a smirk. Okay, fine, maybe I giggled a bit, if you insist, I admitted, embarrassed. See? That wasn't so hard. Was it? Jen continued to tease me as I blushed. Let me smell it, Lena, Jen said, sitting next to me with a smile. Here, I offered, holding the vial closer to him. But instead of taking it, Jen leaned in and sniffed my neck where I'd just applied the perfume. I didn't even know why I did that, it felt like instinct. You should know that perfumes smell best when applied directly to the skin, he said with a mischievous grin. You're acting kind of strange today. Anyway, you're right, but you could have just smelled my hand, I said, embarrassed, putting the vial back into my cape. Pete kept to himself, but I could tell he was trying hard not to say anything. What about your shoulders? Are they better now? Jen asked as he moved closer to make sure no one else could hear. Much better. Thanks. I relaxed, leaning into Jen. You know, I talked with Alice about a lot of things, and I thought about it a lot. I've been a bit of a jerk before. I didn't realize how I could hurt your feelings like that. I was being selfish. I'm sorry. Jen pulled me closer and kissed me. I just want you to know I still love you. I don't want you to question that ever again, I said as we broke the kiss. I know you love me. I can see it in your eyes. They look different, but they're still the same. Yeah, you were a jerk about it, but I guess I'd probably be too if I were in your shoes. We need to talk to Alice. I told you clearly not to talk to Liam about this. Jen moved to grab his sword of light from near the tree. I'm sorry, I just had to do something that you both couldn't say to each other, Alice said as she stood there. Let's go already. Pete called, standing up. Wait, I still have to brush my hair. Why are you in such a hurry? I said, holding up my brush. Brush your hair? Listen to yourself, Pete said with disbelief. Yeah, I need to. I know you think I'm getting girly, but I can't go with my hair all messy. They'll get tangled, and it'll be a pain to deal with later. Did you ever have long hair? No, you haven't. Hair like this is a lot of work. Especially since you have about 3 times the hair of anyone else, Alice added, smiling. Normal person? I said, eye twitching. You have to admit, you have more hair than anyone else you've met, Alice teased. You might be right about that, I confirmed. She's exactly right. You have so much hair, if you split it between 2 people, they'd still have more than enough, Pete chimed in. Enough! If you're trying to embarrass me, it worked, I said, shoving my brush back into my cape after I'd brushed my hair to my satisfaction. I don't know why it embarrasses you. I'd love to have hair like that, Alice commented. They're too much work, and I'm not used to them. But they do feel nice, I said as I finished adjusting my hair. Since you have all those memories, taking care of your hair should be easy now, Alice grinned. Alright, I'm ready, let's go, I said, standing up and putting on my armor, making sure to handle my cape more carefully now, knowing everything it contained. Lead on, you have the map anyway, Pete said, pointing at my back pocket where my camera was. I almost forgot. Sorry, I said as I pulled out the camera and studied the photo for a while. According to this, we should follow this path straight to the next city. It's still pretty far though. We'll probably make it by tomorrow morning. We walked for a few hours and then decided to stop for lunch in a sunny meadow. I'm stuffed, I said, finishing my meal. I lay back in the grass, squinting at the bright sun. It was so bright that it hurt my eyes, but the warmth felt too good, so I pulled my bandana over my eyes. Aren't you allergic to grass? Alice asked, looking worried. I used to be, but not anymore, I think. I'm not sneezing, and my eyes are fine. It's really nice to enjoy the little things I couldn't back home, like this, I said, enjoying the moment. Good for you, Liam. Let's just relax for a while. It's so peaceful here. No noise of civilization, just the wind rustling through the grass and trees, I said, spreading my arms out comfortably in the grass. The sun was so warm and inviting. Yeah, no sounds of technology or civilization. Is that what you mean, Liam? Jen asked. When I didn't answer, she looked puzzled. Liam? Alice said, looking over at me. You just fell asleep. Don't worry, Jen said. I guess we have some time. Let's let her sleep, Jen added, lying down in the grass too. So, what do you think about all this? About how we get home? Alice asked, changing the subject. I don't know how we got here or how we're going to get back. It could be an accident or someone's doing, in which case, we should find that person. If that's the case, I think they'll find us first, Alice said with a knowing look. Yeah, that's exactly my point. I can't even imagine showing up at home like this. It's embarrassing. And what would I even say? Hey Mom, hey Dad, it's me, I'm back. You're worrying too much. First, your parents are better than you think. The two of us could convince them it's really you. You went out as Lena, right? You might look a little different and smaller, but they'll recognize you, Jen said, sounding confident. I don't know about that. I might be able to convince them it's me, but what then? How would they react? It would destroy them. Why? Alice asked, genuinely concerned. Look at me. I'm a girl now. I'm not me anymore. It's going to be uncomfortable for them, don't you think? They'll deal with it. I know them. Your dad will be upset at first, but in the end, he'll accept it. Your mom will love it. She always wanted a daughter, Jen said seriously. I knew it. I suspected something about Mom when she accepted you so quickly after I told her I loved you. What I'm afraid of is that they might actually accept me like this. I think I understand now, Jen said, a sad look in his eyes. Yeah, I think we all feel the same way about this. Some just more than others, Alice added, still worried as she looked at me. Say cheese. Alice suddenly said, snapping a picture of me and Jen. Why did you do that? I said, annoyed. I want you to have a memory when we get back home and everything returns to normal, she said, trying to lift the mood. Her efforts worked for a bit. I think I'll call it a night, I said, looking for a spot that looked comfortable. Yeah, me too, Jen said, joining me. You're right. We should all rest, Alice commented as she pulled back her camera. I unclasped my cape and removed my pauldrons. I laid the cape down near the fire and placed my pauldrons next to it. Good night, everyone. Wake me up, Pete. I'll take the second watch, I said, and Pete nodded in agreement. Jen lay close to me, and Alice on the other side with Pete. I laid back, looking at the sky, enjoying the warmth of the fire and the cool night air. The stars were clearer than I'd ever seen, with no light pollution like back home. I could clearly see a formation that looked like the Milky Way, only shaped like an X. It made me wonder if this planet was in a galaxy merging with another. I slowly drifted to sleep, but nightmares crept in. I dreamt of standing in a field of scorched earth, with a dead tree line behind me. The air was thick with the smell of melting tar and sulfur. There, before me, was Dark Lord Shabranigdo emerging from a pool of lava. I froze, unable to move, terrified. Let's go. We either beat him, or we die trying, I said, trying to hold on to the last bit of courage I had left. The battle didn't go well. Garrett threw me his sword, and then I was struck by a needle attack from the Demon Lord. The pain was unbearable, unlike anything I'd ever felt before. It felt like every single cell in my body was screaming. But somehow, I stood, casting Giga Slave. It didn't go as planned. My soul was ripped from my body, and I saw myself collapse. Everything went black as I screamed. I woke up, drenched in sweat, shaking uncontrollably. What happened? What is it? Pete asked, rushing to my side. You look like you saw death itself, he added. Yeah, you're not far off, I managed to say through trembling lips. Jen moved in, hugging me tightly, trying to comfort me. It's okay now. What happened? Jen asked, still worried. Just a really bad nightmare. It felt like it multiplied 1,000 times, I said, looking at my hands. Like I said before, I got really mad. Not just angry, but more like super pissed off with a hint of embarrassment mixed in. I'm not entirely sure why I felt that way. What I can say for sure is that I'm starting to adopt behaviors that don't feel like me. Like the time I put on that perfume. I told myself I didn't know why I did it, but I lied. The truth is, I did it to feel better about myself. Same goes for brushing my hair. I told Pete it was for practical reasons, and while that's partly true, the main reason is because I want to have pretty hair. That's why I didn't just cut it all off with my dagger. Something inside me just couldn't do it. I feel like I'm losing my mind, I said, spilling my thoughts to Jen. I don't know what to say, Liam. But I don't mind it. If it makes you feel good, just do it. It doesn't matter, you're a girl now anyway. I'm taking full advantage of what happened to us, so why should it be any different for you just because I became a guy and you became a girl? You know what? Jen said, turning to look at me. Huh? I responded, glancing his way. I propose a bet. If I can act like a guy longer than you act like a girl, you'll pay for my meals for an entire week in the next town, Jen said with a grin. I blinked, not sure how to respond. Well, I think I have an advantage. I have her memories, remember? I said. I don't mind. It might be fun, Jen smiled. Okay then, I said as I moved closer to Jen, resting my back against him, trying to make it look cute. You know, you can be really cute when you want to, Jen said, running his hand through my hair. We spent what felt like hours just lying there together, then finally settled in for the night with the others. This time, Jen slept next to me. If you appreciated this story and wish to show your support, don't forget to join me on Patreon for exclusive content.